What's up guys, it's DKV, and this video is going to be about how you can get the best start to Season 1, Season of the Malignant, and Diablo 4. And the main goal for all characters in the early game should be to get to World Tier 3 and unlock sacred weapons as soon as possible. And we can achieve this by staying in World Tier 1. We do not want to go to World Tier 2 because enemies are more challenging, they're going to have more health, and it's just going to be less efficient than staying in World Tier 1. Tip number 2 is going to be about how we can get our guaranteed 5 crushed beast bones for our level 30 health potion. And as you can see, we're here just a little north of Kiovashad, and we're going to be killing a named elite, and it's going to be called the Butcher.
Not ready yet.
And after we kill him, he just will guaranteed drop 5 crushed beast bones for us. Tip number 3 is going to be about how we can clear capstone dungeons just a little bit easier. And the World Tier 2 Capstone Dungeon is level 50, and generally if you're not able to clear this at level 43 to 45, it's because you're taking too much damage. And in order to help make ourselves just that little bit tankier, we can go down here to the Iron Barb Elixir, and this is going to give us 200 armor and a little bit of thorns. We can also make some changes to our skill tree, like for example, we can cut down on some damage nodes, and then put some more points into damage reduction. And that's going to make clearing that capstone just a little bit easier. For the World Tier 3 capstone, it's a level 70 dungeon, and we want to aim to complete it before level 60, because level 60 is the minimum level requirement to equip Ancestral Gear, which is a huge spike in power for us, so we want to get that as early as possible. We are also able to use the Strong Iron Barb Elixir, which just gives us 300 armor instead of 200, as long as we're level 50. For tip number 4, we're going to want to be around level 55 to 60, have World Tier 4 unlocked, and we're just going to kind of focus on other aspects of our character to make sure our power level is there. And the first thing we're going to want to look at is the Renown. We're going to want the 3rd bonus on all of the areas for the +5 skill points. Also, while we're leveling up into this point, so from levels 1 to 55, we're going to want to be focusing all of the dungeons in the same zone. For example, I would farm all of the dungeons in Fractured Peaks, so that way whenever I'm going over to my Renown and I'm looking in Fractured Peaks, I've already done most of the dungeons already, and I can just knock off 1 or 2 areas if I only focus them to get the extra 8 Paragon points, which is going to be a nice bonus. We'll also want to focus on the Season Journey completion and see what bonuses we can get out of that. Tip number 5 is going to be to do your Helltides. And now we're level 60. We just got into World Tier 4. We're starting to drop Ancestral Gear. We're going to need these Forgotten Souls in order to reroll all of our items. It's also a great source, these mystery chests, of just getting random elixirs and more ancestral gear, legendary aspects. While you're farming Helltides, make sure you're looking out for these Screaming Hell Vents, because they drop consistently 3 to 4 Forgotten Souls, and we don't even have to do any combat in order to acquire them. Tip number 6 is going to be about how we're going to manage our resources upgrading gear, because we don't want to invest too much into a piece that we're going to be replacing tomorrow, okay? And so sacred pieces of gear are ones that we're going to want to upgrade twice at the blacksmith or at the jeweler. Ancestral pieces that are good but not great, we're going to want to be upgrading 3 times. So 1, 2, 3.
Not bad.
And then items that are ancestral, have high item power, and have 3 good stats, we're going to want to be upgrading all the way. And probably for weapons, we're going to want to be upgrading even sacred weapons 3 or 4 times, just because that damage bonus is there. For enchanting, sacred items we only want to reroll once, and that means that I'm throwing this in here, the worst stat is right here, I don't want to use too many Forgotten Souls, so I'm hitting this dexterity, I'm hitting it once, and I'm taking whatever's usable. I prefer to have critical strike, but I don't want to invest too much in a sacred item. Likewise, if we're going to be imprinting aspects, we really only want to be implementing aspects that are on the Codex of Power, so that way we're not wasting our aspects for our soon-to-be ancient items that we're going to get. For ancestral pieces of gear, we're okay re-rolling a few times until we eventually hit a okay mod. Like for me, I would be okay with life or armor. We hit armor, I'm not going to spend too many resources rolling into it, so we're just going to stick with that. And for aspects, we'd be okay imprinting anything from the Codex of Power, or if we have an aspect from our inventory that's a middling roll, for example, like let's say it can go up to 40% and we have a 32%, I would be completely fine implementing this, knowing that I'll get a better one later. We want to be saving our max rolls, like our 100% rolls, for our GG gear, which would be stuff like this, where it's 800 item power, it's got 3 good stats, we can re-roll the 4th stat to be critical strike damage, and then throw on a nice imprint on this. For tip number 7, I'm going to recommend that you guys start keeping items and trying to sell them on the Discord. It's going to be linked down below. And you'll just go into the Discord and then post your item, and then you'll have bids. We don't want to waste your time picking up trash items. I have a guide in another video, which will also be linked down below, that'll tell you the best rolls for each piece of gear, so you can kind of know what to value. But the short answer is we kind of want to hold on to rings that have critical strike chance, critical strike damage, and vulnerable damage. Specifically, all 3 of them would be really good. Maximum life's good. Gloves that have high critical strike chance and also +3 rings to a skill are good. And then obviously weapons that are high item power and ideally have better stats than this. They will sell really well, especially if they are only level 70 to equip, because people will be looking for their upgrades to move into World Tier 4. Tip number 8 is going to be about the new Malignant Tunnels, and farming the Malignant Tunnels should give you a good chance of getting these Malignant Hearts. And these Malignant Hearts seem to be extremely powerful. Some of them are giving you a chance to just restore all of your resource. Some of them are just giving you 40% critical strike chance. Some of them are giving you a new electric arcing ability, which could be insane for AoE. And I imagine these new Malignant Hearts will be insane for builds and will give you a huge power spike. So if you're around like level 60, 70, and you don't have that good Malignant Hearts, I would for sure be checking out these Malignant Tunnels. Tip number 9 is going to be to farm your Nightmare Dungeons. Now, Nightmare Dungeons received a buff, and I believe that they will be the best way for solo players to speed farm XP, upgrade their glyphs, and just get as powerful as quickly as possible. So generally you want to be only running glyphs that you want to be running. Like for example, I don't want to run Shift to Ruins. I'm not running Black Asylum. And this one has 30% max life as barriers, so it'll be a little bit slower. This one has primary resource burn, which I don't want to run. And there are lots of guides on which dungeons are the best to run. I'm sure you guys can look up other YouTube videos about that. But you definitely need to be hard prioritizing Nightmare Dungeons. Do not be resetting a normal dungeon. That is the old meta. Nightmares dungeons are the future. Tip number 10 is going to be my pick for Smoldering Ashes. Now, you get Smoldering Ashes from the Battle Pass. I don't know exactly how many you can get, or if you can put them into urns and then take them out. If you can just take them out, then obviously you'd want to start with Urn of Aggression, and then as soon as you hit level 100, take them out. However, if you're not allowed to remove them, then I think putting them into Urn of Aggression is a bait, because as soon as you hit level 100, you just have 4 ashes doing nothing. I think by far the best one is the Urn of Malignance, because that's just going to get you more of the season mechanic, which I think will be extremely powerful. And the second option is really between the 60% duration to elixirs or 20% gold from vendor cells. And I think vendor cells is actually better, guys, and that's because 20% of a full inventory is worth about 200k, and most elixirs you can buy for about 400 to 500k. So the Urn of Bargaining is going to effectively earn you an elixir every 2 times you vendor if you're buying it off other people. And I think this is just going to hard outscale the actual 60% duration on elixirs. Obviously, prices of elixirs can change, but this is what I'm putting my points into. The Urn of Malignance and then the Urn of Bargaining. The final tip, tip number 11, is just to play whatever class you think looks the most fun. I think Blizzard has shown that they will aggressively nerf classes like what they did with the Barbarian near the start of the launch. People are saying that Necro is going to be weak. It's really strong. Druid's really strong. The only class that I feel like is super weak right now is Sorcerer. But at the end of the day, the class that you're most excited to play, the one that you're going to log in and grind the most, that's going to be the one that you're going to have the most fun with, the most success with. I would also, at the very least, be looking up a build guide and kind of prepping what you want to play so you know what you're going for, what you're going to start as, what you're going to swap to once you head into World Tier 4. And with all that said, I hope some of these tips helped you guys. I hope you guys are as excited for Season 1 as I am. And until next time, good luck out there in hell.